Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday morning setup for Silk and Sonder for our journal. I'm so happy to see you all here. My name is Maya, if we haven't met yet, and I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, where I think it's only about 55 this morning and it's a little cloudy. And we're supposed to be getting some rain, which is great because we had such a dry winter. Um, Definitely looking forward to the rain. And of course, they're predicting possibly snow on Monday because, sure, why not? It's Colorado. It's May. It might just be in the mountains. It might not actually come down to the city, but you never know. So it's always a little crazy here in May. Yeah, Catherine. Snow. Yep. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted, right? But definitely in the mountains we get snow oftentimes even through June. But so we'll see if we actually get snow tomorrow or not, but definitely colder. So we have had the air conditioning and the heat. Like it's constantly this like, oh, turn on the air conditioner. Oh, now we need to turn on the heat. Oh, turn back on the air conditioner. I think our HVAC system is probably like, what am I supposed to do here? Anyway, so welcome everyone. Few little housekeeping tips. Make sure you set that Zoom chat to everyone if you're wanting to share with the group that's here. Zoom has a really obnoxious tendency to flip back to host and panelist. And when it does that, the only people that will see what you write are myself and my fabulous co-facilitator, Bailey. And if you just want to talk to us, that's absolutely fine. But just know that sometimes it will, especially if you're on an iPhone or an iPad, it keeps flipping back even when you change it. So just kind of keep an eye on that. And thanks everyone for participating in your the scale of cats, how you are today. I know some of you probably were here yesterday morning. Thanks, Don. I am feeling a little better. I have had this really nasty cold and cough for probably a couple weeks now, taking various medications. I think it's getting a little bit better. I slept pretty good last night, but I was also pretty heavily medicated. And so hopefully I won't have a little coughing fit today, but if I do, bear with me. And because I did the social yesterday morning, I'm doing this morning, and then I'm also doing tomorrow, Monday morning as well, because we have some of our facilitators are out of town this weekend. So just a few other community guidelines. I do like to always say happy birthday to any of those May birthdays. Do we have any birthdays coming up this week? Want to say happy birthday for those folks. And then we just want to remember community guidelines. We want to make sure that this is a safe and supportive space. So we want to make sure that we're kind and courteous to both ourselves and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy, no hate speech or bullying, limiting those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask a few questions about like where people get pins that don't bleed through the pages and where people got different stickers. But the best place, honestly, for that is in Sonder Club, because then folks can post pictures and links and all of those things. Any of those customer care inquiries, all go to our team, hello@silkandsonder.com. So all of your subscription questions, mailing, billing issues, you need to update your credit card information. Those all go to them. Bailey and I don't have access to your account, so we can't see, we can't fix anything for you. We would if we could, but we don't have access. So, and then ultimately remember that these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have such a wonderful, supportive, happy, creative community here, but ultimately you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that is just not quite your jam and you want to work on something else, this is your hour. You carved out this time. You do what you need to do. No right or wrong way to do that. If the music I play isn't your jam, you can mute that. If my scratchy, raspy voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning enabled. So again, take this time for you. Oh, Denise, you said your youngest will be 27. And is that this month? And then you're going to be married for 49 years. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. That's amazing. Fabulous milestone there. Congratulations. So this is my husband and I will be married 25 years in September. So hopefully we will make it to 49 and more. But congratulations there. So this month we've been digging into integrity, and I really appreciate how folks are kind of taking a deep look at this and really kind of digging in, seeing what this means to them. And I know some people are saying they feel like maybe it's not resonating. Maybe they're just not quite sure what it means to them. And it is kind of a tougher theme. I will say next month, I won't give away the theme, but if you've got in your journal, you've seen it. But next month is maybe a little more of what we kind of consider the fun. the fun themes, maybe not quite so intense. But integrity is something that's important for us to really think about. And it's really that idea of choosing our thoughts and actions based on our values rather than on personal gains. And I really appreciated someone in Sonder Club yesterday was talking about the daily ritual. And if you haven't done those in Sonder Club, those are really good little activities to kind of spend some time and kind of walk through those. But the daily ritual was kind of talking about saying yes when you really mean no, and how you have to kind of take yourself into account and make sure that your well-being is good. And she was talking about how she was kind of struggling with the idea of, is doing things for myself selfish? Do I because I know I need to go, maybe she was talking about needing to go and visit her mom in nursing home and spending some time with her, and how she didn't really want to, like it would have been nice to have just kind of been able to chill at home and maybe read a book or relax or whatever, but she knew she needed to go and be with her mom. And she was kind of like, how does that work, and integrity. And it's I think part of that is just examining that, right? When you're saying yes to something that you don't really want to do, but is that the choice between what's convenient and what's right? And so it's a tough thing to sometimes navigate. And I think part of what we do here in Sonder Club is really think about being very intentional with our actions, right? And really kind of thinking about it. So instead of a default of, well, I'm just going to do what's good for me, and I'm just going to be, whatever makes me happy, and I don't care about anybody else, and I don't care about my community, I don't care about my family. It's all about me, me, me. Like, that's not what integrity is about, and that's not what the saying yes when you mean no is about. It's really examining what you want to cultivate and how you want to be. So I appreciated that she was willing to share that in Sonder Club. So just really thinking about what integrity means to us and what our actions mean, and being very intentional about how we act and what we're doing. And sometimes, yes, we say, all right, I'll do this. It maybe isn't what I want to do. And maybe what I want to do is veg out in front of the TV. But what I really need to do and what would be better for me is to go for a walk, or to go and visit my family, or to maybe do some decluttering, right? So really that kind of back and forth thinking is something that's really what we're trying to cultivate here. So I appreciate everyone kind of thinking on this theme as we go through the month. And believe it or not, we're already halfway through the month. I don't know how that happened. So today we're going to work on our integrity mind map. This is going to be week 3 of that. And just so you know, there is an extra weekend in May. And so that last weekend will be kind of a little bonus mind map, tying some of the other themes together. Excuse me. So just know that's what that looks like. We're going to do our rosebud thorn activity, and we're going to do our weekly setup pages. And I always like to use these 2 little cartoons to illustrate a couple points. One is that there's room for you here just as you are. We want to celebrate with you, but we will also embrace you if maybe there's some struggles and some tough things that are happening. We want to be able to do both, because we know that life is kind of an up and down, right? And then the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So nobody can tell us you should be happy about this, you shouldn't be mad about this, right? Our feelings are just our feelings, and that's how they are. And Ellen is saying in the chat, it's been interesting because what she saw in herself this month is she has more integrity with others than she has with herself. And the things that I tell myself, how I keep the promises I make to myself. And I think that is a great insight, because sometimes we're very good about honoring our promises to others. I promised this person I would do this, and so I do that. Like, we're very good at honoring those promises, but the promises we make to ourselves, sometimes we get a little squishy with that. Sometimes we're like, well, I know I said that I would, walk 3 times this week, but oh gosh, things have gotten really busy. I'm going to kind of ignore that. Or I know I told myself that I was going to stand up for myself in that meeting where the person kept talking over me, but I don't really want to rock the boat. I'm just going to kind of set back. And so really kind of thinking about that integrity towards others and integrity to ourselves. And I think that's a good thing to kind of think about as we're working on ourselves, right? And we're a beautiful work in progress, right? We're always working on ourselves, always learning something new. So I think that's definitely a good thing. So hopefully you have your mind map set up, right? You've got a lot of people like to use that back page or maybe the quote page. I like to use the expense tracker page just because I don't track my expenses on paper. I do it electronically. So lots of different ways to kind of think about that. So this week we are thinking about work and ambition. So, like careers and goals and output. Now, if you are retired, yay for you. But maybe you want to think about this more in terms of if you're doing like volunteer work or you're doing work with your family, or maybe you're doing some spiritual work with yourself, or, those different kinds of things. Maybe you're a mentor to someone. So, really, the question is, does the way I work and what I'm building reflect what I actually value? And I think this can be really tricky with work sometimes. Um, I always say work is called work and they pay us to do it because we wouldn't necessarily do those things if we weren't getting paid, even if they're really fun and even if we really enjoy them, right? There's kind of a difference there. So, is what you're doing and the way that you're working reflecting what you value? So, again, here's a couple examples of what pages look like for the mind map. That's mine there on page 25 with the expense tracker. I kind of gave myself, I like the nice linear, but then someone else did a kind of fun colored sections. So that's kind of fun. So I'm going to let you think about this area: work, ambition, careers, or goals, or kind of like what you're doing. And does the way that you work and what you're building reflect what you actually value? Part of that is really thinking about what your core values are, and then thinking about, does your work actually support that? Is what you're doing and how you're doing it, and how you're showing up for others, is that something that's working? So I will be quiet. I will let you work on that. Feel free to share in the chat kind of what your thoughts are here, or just kind of start working on that, and we will check back in and keep moving on. All right. Well, thank you for sharing in the chat, folks talking about sometimes someone, now I can't remember who it was, and my chat went by too fast, but um excuse me, talking about like in education, how a lot of times the expectations we have for some of our 5 and 6 year olds is just to like be in the sit and get, and like being very passive learners. And we know from research that that's really not how 5 and 6 year olds learn. So it can be really tough if there's expectations from administration kind of pressing down on you, but then you're trying to do what you know is best, what you know works best, what you know what research maybe says works best for kiddos. So there's kind of that push between the two, and that can be really tough, right? And that can be an uncomfortable place to be. And I think sometimes, when we think about integrity, sometimes being able to um, feel like we are living as we want to, and really kind of like I'm not being able to talk very well. I think the cold medications are still working. But when we want to do what we believe is right, what our values say is right, and then there's kind of like society or something else that is kind of saying that's not what's right, there's kind of that tension. And so working through that can be really tricky. So I appreciate folks kind of thinking about what do I need to do? How do I work? And then really thinking about what integrity means. And I know there's a school district, not my school district here, but there's another school district that is struggling with integrity with their leadership because there's been some financial issues as of late that are kind of coming to light. And so I think a lot of folks are struggling with, maybe they did some things that they allowed some things financially that happened. Oh, sorry. um, and they allowed some things to happen, and maybe they weren't really showing that integrity by speaking up because they felt like they couldn't. And now things have kind of come to a head, and now it's kind of like all out in the public, and that can be really tough, right, for folks. And so my heart goes out to you when that kind of thing happens, because that can be really tough. So thanks everyone for sharing in the chat, really kind of thinking about what that looks like for you in terms of work and career. And if you're not in in a workplace right now, if you're retired or you're kind of between jobs, really kind of thinking about what that looks like for home, what that looks like for other things that you're kind of doing in your life, and how that shows up. So let's turn to page 44 and do our rosebud thorn activity, do a little reflecting on this past week, thinking about something that we're grateful for, our rose, something positive, our bud is something maybe we're looking forward to that gives us hope and motivation and inspiration, and then that thorn, that's something that's challenging or stressful. And the point of this activity is really to see, like, look, a rose does have all of these things. They have the beautiful rose, the bloom, they have the bud, that's a promise of something coming, and they have those pokey thorns, right? Those things that are not super fun and we don't really enjoy them, but that's what kind of makes it a whole, right? Kind of creates the whole picture there. So I like to start with the thorn, the challenge, just to kind of get that out of the way. So obviously my cough and my cold have been definitely a thorn. Illness, I think, is always a thorn for us. It's just something that's frustrating, and we kind of just have to give ourselves grace. I will say I have been very good this time. Usually I kind of try to push through and keep going to work and keep trying to do all the things. But I've been very good about allowing myself to rest. I've taken sick days. I've, allowed myself to just sit in the chair and drink water and try to relax. So I feel like that's a good thing, right? Something that I wasn't always good at doing. And then our bud is that emerging opportunity. So, I've been planning, we have a trip in August to Spain. So my husband and I have been planning fun things to do, places to go, things to see. And then the rose is our highlight, something that's positive. My little 19-year-old kitty, she had to have 5 of her teeth taken out a couple weeks ago, and it was pretty rough. I posted a picture in Sonder Club of how rough she looked, but she is getting much better, and she's much happier, and she's able to gobble down all her food now, even without her teeth. She kind of, one side has fewer teeth than the other, so she kind of has this lip that kind of hangs down a little bit. It's kind of funny. So anyway, I will let you think about your rose, your bud, and your thorn. Feel free to share in the chat any of those that you would like to share, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. All right. Thank you for sharing in the chat those roses, buds, and thorns. Some folks have some really deep things that they're thinking about and working on. And I appreciate, oh, my chat is like kind of futzy here. I was trying to read one that kind of a bud is being able to speak up more at work, sharing thoughts and feelings around the current workplace culture and vision for evolving. I think that can be really tough. To be able to, when you're not in a position of power, right, but to be able to kind of share thoughts and feelings about how things, how you might like them to be or what you might like them to be. And that's part of integrity too, right? Because there was a lot of times in my life in work where I just wouldn't say anything. Like I knew I probably should, like, oh, this is a problem, or I should bring this up, or I should address this. But I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just be quiet. I'm not in a position to talk about these things. And then now, of course, I don't know, part of it probably is because I'm over 50 and I have no problem. I have no filter, right? The filter kind of goes away and you just kind of share what you think. But it does feel good to be able to share those things and in a positive way. And then hopefully folks will listen to you and you can maybe affect some change, even though you're not the person in power. So um, definitely can be a tricky thing. So thank you all for sharing those roses, buds, and thorns. I think it's so important to do this activity to just really realize how our weeks look and what things can be each week, and really realizing each week is just a part of the whole, right? Remembering that this is just it's a part of our life. It was a thing that happened. It's not our whole life. And having this reflection time is really good to do that. So let's jump into our weekly planner. And I kept the little picture in here. Like I said, I did this yesterday too. And I love the I think it's Corey's picture of her little lights in her planter. And I think she posted in Sonder Club where she got those. But I love that this is like this fun little glimmer, it's this fun little pretty thing out in the backyard. So I thought I would share that because now's the time when you can kind of make some fun things in the backyard. And then I also like had to put this in there. I just realized why this month is called May. It may rain, it may snow, it may be 70 degrees or even 90. We had 90 degrees this last week. Or it may be 20 degrees, right? So maybe that's why they call it May. Um, so first thing we're going to talk about is how we want to feel, right? And that is on page 46 up at the top. Um, and how we want to feel. I often think of this as how we want to show up for the world, how we want to be as we're kind of moving through the world this week. And so it can be one word, and I've given you like a little list of words there: grounded and open, strong, supported, harmonious. And then you can see here's some examples of what some other folks have done. Again, it can be one word, it can be a more or less. I want to feel more rested and energized, less scattered and exhausted. It could be several words. It could be a phrase, a mantra, an affirmation. Maybe you just want to pop a sticker in there that kind of illustrates how you want to feel this week. Maybe it's a picture or a quote. Maybe you want to bring last week's word forward. I know a lot of people, the word that they used for last week worked really well for them, so they bring it forward. It doesn't have to be a brand new word every week. And it could also be your word of the year. Some people like to do a word of the year, and so they will put that in there, so you can totally do that as well. And then I like to tie this into, oh, Bailey does the word of the year in there. What's your word of the year, Bailey? I can't remember. I think I could remember. Cultivate. Nice. And then our weekly major 3 goals can, if we set those up just right, those achieving those goals can help us feel our feeling. So again, we can kind of go back to our April intentions on page 9. If you haven't had a chance to look back at those, now's a good time to do that. A little reminder here, mid month. Want to look back at that monthly habit tracker. Maybe we want to set our goals through the lens of integrity. Maybe we want to have some no goals, like saying no alcohol, no doom scrolling. Maybe we want to look at previous weeks and kind of bring those forward. Carly's word is emerge for this year. I love that. Maybe we want to frame our goals around a personal challenge. So maybe a fitness challenge or a cleaning, decluttering challenge. Maybe you want to take a look at the May bucket list and kind of see some of these. Oh, Sabrina's word is joyful. That's a great one. That's actually what I put for my how I want to feel this week is joyful. Um, maybe it's you want to for these goals, maybe you want to do some things like on the bucket list. So do some May bucket list ideas. Maybe you want to divide it up into home, work, health, mind, and body. So different kinds of things that are in there. Here's some others: healing, recharging, and regulating my nervous system. Maybe you want to do a delete, delegate, and delight in the goals. Maybe you want to, again, the mind, body, soul, I think are three really good areas to, if you want to kind of focus your goals around that. Maybe it's just something simple like breathe, move, and notice. Maybe it's a quote. Some person has a quote around perspective and hope, and they wanted to feel a fresh perspective on my past and a renewed hope in my future. And they have some nice little quotes on that. So I will let you think about that. I will cycle through these pages. Feel free to let us know what your feeling is you want for the week and what those major three goals are. And then we'll check back in and keep moving on. Right. Thanks everyone for sharing in the chat. I really appreciate Marcia said, I start out really strong. I have this social, I set up my journal page, everything's looking great. And then throughout the week, I just kind of slack and then things kind of fade away. And I totally do the same thing, right? I think it's very easy to be like super motivated here on Sunday, get everything all set up, and then you never look at your journal again for the rest of the week. So the way I combat that is I set an alarm on my phone, a daily alarm. You can set it up to be recurring at like 6 p.m. or, pick whatever time. And then I'm just like, look at journal. right? And so then I get that little alarm go off. And even if I just sit there and look at the page again, even if I don't do anything per se, it refreshes and reminds like, oh, these are the things I said I wanted to do. These are the things I need to do. Yeah. And sometimes if you do it in the morning, you need that reminder in the evening. So sometimes think of it as like a nice bookend in the morning while you're sipping your coffee. You're looking through, oh, what did I say? What do I have on my to-do list? What do I have? What were my goals for the week? Okay, what am I going to do? And then um, at the end of the evening, like, okay, I'm going to go back and revisit. So give yourself that opportunity, that little reminder, because it's so easy to slip back into habits. The other thing, like Bailey was saying, maybe for your goals, you want to focus on one thing this week. You don't have to have three, right? Just because it says weekly major three goals, it can focus on one. Maybe this week you really want to focus on getting good sleep, right? That's, it's definitely one of the pillars of health, right? So you're going to focus on that and you want to feel rested. You're going to focus on getting good sleep. And then you're going to set up your to-dos and your habits and activities to help you get that. So those to-dos are going to be things like maybe you need to tidy up your bedroom, right? A messy bedroom can be really stressful. So maybe you're going to kind of move some things around, clean things up. Maybe you need to get some blackout curtains. Maybe you need to get a fan to kind of cool things off in there. Our air conditioning works great on the main floor, but our bedroom and then the upper floor, not so much. So we have a fan in the bedroom. So really kind of thinking about those things and focusing on that one piece. The other thing that's really good to do, and I will bring that into the to-dos, is to have this is what I will do if things are going smoothly, right? Everything's falling into place. People are doing what I need them to do. The universe is cooperating. But here's what that looks like if the universe is not cooperating, if I have those little bumps in the road or big bumps in the road. So things like if you want to get more activity in, right? In a perfect world, you would go to the gym maybe 3 times that week. You would walk 4 times for 30 minutes, right? You have this lovely little plan. But then what's your plan for if things go, crosswise? Okay, so maybe that is I get to the gym once this week and I will walk for 5 minutes 3 times a day, right? Give yourself options because I think what happens is we get into that black and white thinking, all or nothing. Okay, I said I was going to do all these things. Now I can't do them, so I'm not going to do anything. Forget it. Never mind. Right? I've ruined everything. I'll just start again next week. No, let's see how we can kind of come up with something that's this is the life got crazy plan. This is the life is going great plan. Right? And so give yourself that option because so much of what we do with these to-dos and our habits is really about consistency. And I need to find, I'll see if I can, I have to find for another social, or maybe I'll post it in Sonder Club, but there's one about what consistency looks like. Consistency isn't doing the exact same thing all the times. Sometimes consistency is I do just a little bit, right? So again, I was going to walk for 30 minutes. You know what? I walked for 5. I walked for 1 minute. I walked around the block instead of walking for 2 miles, right? But that's okay. Yeah, Marcia says that's what she does. She throws in the towel. Never mind. I messed it up. I'll start again next week. That that kind of thinking will not be helpful for you. So really think about what will happen if life goes sideways, right? This and that's my sideways plan. My life is going in a straight line plan. So again, those to-dos, the Eisenhower matrix really helps folks sometimes with those to-dos. They have a whole list of things they need to do, and then they kind of plop it into this matrix, thinking about kind of if things you need to do it now, maybe you need to decide a different time to do it. Maybe it's more like a next week plan. Maybe you can delegate it to someone else to work on it, or maybe it's something you just need to delete. Do you really need to do this thing? Here's some examples of things that some folks have done. They have like the ta-da bingo. We love a good bingo board. A work and a home. Don't do this instead. I think that's great when we're trying to switch up our habits to give us an alternative to what we're going to do. Maybe we have some fun little stickers. Think about that step by step. Yeah, like thinking about sometimes starting is hard. So you have to do just the first step. So give yourself that tiny little step, that little thing to do. Maybe if you've been trying to get to the gym and you haven't been able to, maybe it's just a set out my gym clothes, right? I'm going to set out my gym clothes the night before. And maybe you don't get to the gym the next day, but that's okay. Your gym clothes are there. And then the next day you're like, okay, I've got my gym clothes. I'm going to put them on. Maybe I'll get out the door to the gym. Maybe I'll just walk around the block and come back, right? So do kind of those baby steps to give yourself kind of that momentum, because they do talk about motivation doesn't come first. We think we need to be motivated to do the thing, but usually it's the steps in doing the thing that gives us the motivation. So remember to kind of work in that way. And then we have like a little May to-do list. Again, kind of some fun things to kind of think about there. Some spring energy givers, definitely always wanting things that are fun, energy to do. Decorate your journal. I love that some folks have been using a lot of stickers to decorate the cover of their journal. You've probably noticed that our design has become more streamlined. It's a little more similar from month to month. The color changes are there, but they're a little subtle, but the actual floral design is the same. So people have been using fun stickers, using different things to put on there. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. Some folks are participating in the Pen Pal, the unofficial Pen Pal group. And so this person made a You've Got Mail, and they're writing letters to their pen pals. You could do this if you're writing letters to family. It's so much fun to get an actual letter as opposed to junk mail or a bill in the mail. And then our habits and activities, or habities, as I called them one time when I was talking too fast. These really are specific to the week. So a little bit different from that monthly habit wheel, but these are things that are very specific. And I did post this picture in Sonder Club yesterday, but reframing that I did nothing today, right? Have you ever done that? You're like, oh, I didn't get anything done today. I didn't do anything. Maybe if you reframe that, thinking about, I took a mental health day, I did something I wanted or I needed, I nourished myself, I listened to my body, I took a vacation, I slept in, I looked after myself, I prioritized myself, I recharged, right? So think about next time you say something like, I didn't do anything today, or what'd you do this weekend? Nothing. Maybe you didn't do nothing. Maybe you took mental health day, you caught up on life, right? You gave yourself some rest. So here's some other examples of things that folks have done for their habits and activities, right? We've got things like a social media break. I think I need to do that again. I get so sucked into just scrolling, and it's good stuff that I scroll on Instagram, fun stuff, happy stuff. But it's like I think, oh my gosh, I just spent an hour scrolling through this. I could have done many other things that probably would have been made me a little bit more happier than scrolling through. So different things there. I also have the 30 days, it should be 31 days of integrity for May from Silk and Saunders Instagram. We've also got the May Whimsy Challenge from Ambitiously Alexa. That's also fun. So different things to kind of think about for this. Oh, and Katie said she did the chicken orzo recipe in the May Journal, made it last night, and it was a whole family pleaser. We added roasted asparagus to it for a veggie. And she's a little sad there's no leftovers. Well, you have to double the batch, right, when you make it next time so that you'll have leftovers. That's great. Yeah, the recipes in here are really good. We used to do, way back in the day, we used to do cooking socials. And we, Karen, one of our facilitators who's no longer with us, but because she went and did her own Pilates studio and she's like super busy with her Pilates studio, but she would cook in her kitchen and we would do a little social. So I still think that would be fun to do, maybe monthly. Send an email to hello@silkandsonder.com if you want to see the cooking socials come back, because they are kind of fun to be able to do that. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you work on the to-dos and the habits and activities and scroll through there, and then we'll check in and keep moving on. Okay, so hopefully you've got some ideas now for those to-dos, those habits and activities. Now we're going to switch over to page 47. And as our facilitator Katie likes to call this the B side, right? So it's like our record that sometimes we only listen to the A side, but every once in a while we want to flip over to the B side. So I think this is probably, these sections are kind of one of our more repurposed sections for folks. And it kind of, for me, it depends on what my week looks like, how I use these different sections. So the first one is the meal plan. Obviously, you can use this to plan your meals, right? You can also use it to track your meals. I know some folks like to use it if they have migraines or maybe some tummy troubles, and being able to track what they've eaten helps them. And then they kind of track any symptoms. So that can kind of help make that link between maybe what they're eating and kind of what's going on with their bodies. Maybe you can use it for a cleaning plan. A lot of folks are thinking about doing some, again, spring cleaning still happening, or maybe you want to get more structured in how you're cleaning the house, doing little sections each day. Maybe you want to do a TV movie watching plan, things you want to watch. We just started watching The Pit last week. We still watched the first season, and we did watch it relatively quickly. I try not to binge shows because I feel like I tell myself I don't want to watch a movie if it's over 2 hours sometimes, and then I'll catch myself watching 3 episodes of 1 hour shows. And I'm like, okay, I did the same thing just with these shows, but it kept getting like intense and I couldn't quit. So we did start episode 1 of season 2 last night. So we're trying to stretch that out just a little bit. It is hard not to binge The Pit because it is like one shift. So it's each an hour from each one. Anyway, maybe you want to do like a bingo board. Maybe you want to track some reading. Maybe you want to track your good things for the day. Someone does cute little drawings, cute little doodles, their little moment of Zen doodle. I saw someone did, they have their husband actually will draw, they're writing like a little cartoon storyboard for them in their journal in the meal plan, and they do a little picture each day for the little storyboard, which is super cute. Maybe you want to track reading. There's a book lover's self-care, so different things that you might want to do if you've been enjoying reading some different books. And then the mind body health plan. My husband sent me this little quote. My patience is like a gift card. Not sure how much is left on it, but we can give it a try in relation to dealing with this woman that's in our HOA that's kind of driving me nuts. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I do. The husband story doodles are super cute. She shares those in Sonder Club. I love seeing those. So maybe you want some screen-free hobbies, maybe some low energy, medium energy, and high energy. Maybe you want to track what you're loving. Maybe you want to do a little girls just want to have fun bingo, a little keep it fun. I like how they kind of did that in the circle, and they have kind of these different ideas. Maybe simple ways to turn around a bad day. So keeping in mind things like naming 3 things that are going right or visualizing your goal. I like this day is not my whole, this is a day, not my whole life. I think that's something that is hard for us to remember. Sometimes we're in the thick of a tough time. Like this is just one day, or this is just one week. This is not my whole life. It's just a part, not the whole. So reminding ourselves of that. I like slow, simple, seasonal. They always have a monthly nature journal calendar. So like today's is sit quietly under a tree and journal what you hear, smell, and feel. So I always like these are kind of some fun little ways to get outside and do some fun things. Then we also have our shopping list, right? So it could be maybe glimmers. You're wanting to track those glimmers. That was Corey's glimmer was the cute little night lights that she had there in her plants. So maybe you want to do a little glimmer bingo there. Maybe you want to do a doodle a day if you're inspired by the doodling, but you need a prompt, right? So today is what, a plant. So you could draw a little plant there in one of those little spaces. And I really appreciate the person who they wanted to use this as this week I completed. And then they said they started so much and finished so little, right? So it's like, I hear that, right? That happens. So sometimes it's just a matter of reminding yourself of what that looks like. And then that I am loving section is just whatever you're loving right now. I should have taken the picture of the hat off because I'm not loving knitting this hat right now because I do not have enough yarn to finish it. And I don't really want to buy more yarn to finish it. So I think I'm going to have to take it out and kind of redo something so that I only use the one skein of yarn. Anyway, so I'm loving the coloring. It's very pretty. Loving my hummingbirds, those kinds of things, right? So that's page 47. Let us know how you're using any of these little sections. Yeah, Savannah is saying with the big projects like painting the entire stairs, upstairs living room area. So that's one of the things that can be really good for the meal plan is if you're doing a big project, can you break it down into little chunks of things that you would do each day? So it's not like I'm going to paint this entire room. You have to kind of break things down into little pieces. So some fun, different ideas for how you can use those. So I will cycle through these so you can get those ideas. Let us know in the chat what you're doing with each of these areas, and then we'll check back in and wrap things up. All right. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat. I love Kimber is using the meal plan to research idioms. I love idioms. They are so interesting. I taught English as a second language for a while to university students, and we always had, every day we had like a daily idiom that we would talk about, because the idioms can be really confusing for someone learning the language to try to figure out what the heck are they talking about. So that was really fun. And also, if you're learning another language, you can look up idioms in that language. So, like in Spanish, I know there's one that talks about something about like an open mouth catches flies or something like that. I can't remember the exact Spanish words, but it's fun to kind of look and see, learn idioms in other languages as well. So it's kind of interesting to see where they come from and what we're using them for. And yeah, Bailey's doing Duolingo French. So look up, Google like French idioms, and that could be a fun. Maybe I'll do that for my meal plan section. I'll do some Spanish idioms since we are going to Spain. So maybe that would be good. So share your weekly planner. In Sonder Club, you can see all of these are examples from real life people, real life Sonder fam like you. So we love to see those examples. Also, if you haven't had a chance yet and you're not using the 24/7 personalized life coach that we have, they're still doing a little free trial period that you don't have to sign up for or give a credit card or anything. You can kind of do like a little demo. So Bailey is popping in some links there in the chat. So enjoy that. And I will also pop my playlist in there on Spotify. Again, I kind of jump around. It's kind of the playlist that I use for all my socials in the month. So you can, if you want to check those songs out, join us for another social. We've got lots more coming up. I hope you all have a fabulous, fabulous day. Finishing up, getting ready for the week, feeling good going forward. Hopefully this cold will go away, and I will hopefully see you all again soon in another social. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Your time is up. You took a sip from the devil's cup. You broke my heart. There's no way back. Move right out of here, baby. Go pack your bags. Just who do you think you are? Stop acting like some kind of star. Just who do you think you are?